Hey everybody, so glad that you're here to join me as I analyze an incredible scene from the show Arcane on Netflix that came out last year. Is that correct? Last year? It's beautiful. Now, I was roped into watching it and I was very thankful I was. It brought a lot of surprise to me as far as like what's going on in the animation world. Obviously, I know it's filled with wonderful artists, but the true cinematic nature of these artists is just mind-blowing. And so I'm going to take a look at one of my personal favorite scenes. It's from episode 3. It's when Vander dies. Spoiler, but you know, I'm sure you're watching this because you've already seen the show. It's after Vander dies and Vi and Powder has this confrontation. We're going to be looking at things like lighting. We're going to be looking at things like color difference, maybe some shadow side, that part of lighting, just to help understand how they're structuring the scene and the confrontation between these characters. And then also we're going to be looking to maybe bring up a little bit about the 180-degree rule for composition's sake and, you know, choice of shots. Let's go ahead and watch the first few seconds. Let's look at this first shot before I hit play. This is great because it gives a sense of size and place for these characters. And obviously, Vander, if you watch the episode, you know he turned himself into a monster to save these girls that he's been raising, essentially. And so he has died. She's crying over his body. But this is a nice establishing shot and seeing kind of which direction the characters are facing. Little pull out wide, and then it does a very slight push in, I think. She gets up. This is nice because when it comes to lighting, when it comes to color choice, one of the best things you can do in the foreground and background of your characters is exposure and color difference. And so because the motivated light, the kind of the key light for this whole scene is coming from that fire, from the explosion, on her you have this nice orange light that you see there. And then in the background you have this nice cool light that's more of this bluish off green color. You've noticed even right here, on both sides, really, you have kind of this in-between stage. So it's obviously because it's being illuminated from the fire, but it's just set up very nicely. Also, see how she's framed. Let's see if I play a few seconds, if she sort of leans up forward. You see how there's leading lines in the composition. Her, you know, being sad, her face, her herself is the motivation. So you have leading line here. You kind of have these jagged leading lines kind of shooting off towards her, and then you have a nice frame that's kind of putting her in kind of the center, but the choice of design for the location is really good as well. So we have color difference, we have leading lines, composition. Let's go ahead and take let's go a few more seconds in. Powder shows up in the background and she turns around and sees Powder. And notice where their eye lines are looking. So you have Powder, her eye line is looking to this side of the camera. So this is going to help you understand the 180-degree rule a little bit. And she also has a nice exposure difference between her face, all of her exposure, and this background. There's stops of lighting in there that's nice, and it brings attention to her as a character.
Finally worked.
So her eyes are looking one direction off screen, and then look at her eyes. The direction of her eyes is going this way. So this kind of helps you establish a little bit about where the line is. So obviously the line is connecting from her nose to Powder's nose, Vi's nose to Powder's nose, and that's the establishing. So when they chose a side, they're staying on that side, and you can tell which side they're on based on where their eye line is at either side of the camera. This is really nice because there's still a color difference, just the opposite. Because she turned away from the fire, you have all of this hot fire going on that's brighter than her, and she's sort of in the shadows, but she's still exposed well for this scene. Let's keep going. And the emotions building, you kind of see the animation is just crazy. The emotion that they can get out of these animated characters is so awesome.
Why did
It's kind of cool how they chose when she first walked up to Vi to have a close-up and Powder to not kind of have like a medium close-up. And it's kind of because the emotion, the driving emotion of this scene, kind of the weight of Vi about to help Powder realize what she's done, it's heavy. And so the emotion is focused on Vi, and it's actually, in this shot, it's switching to Powder as she kind of realizes what happened. See, we're getting close up on Powder, and she's kind of... Oh, and she realizes she also killed her friend. And that's really nice, too, that there was a rack focus. I love how they show don't tell here. If you notice, Vi in this scene, she doesn't say anything really expository. She doesn't have to explain anything. It really shows what's going on. She can see Vander is dead behind Vi, and she sees the blood on the goggles that we saw a character wearing earlier. And so they really they show don't tell, which means they don't have to explain. If you have to explain everything in a movie, like you would a book, well then that's bad storytelling for the cinema.
I only wanted to help.
The emotions rising.
I only wanted to help. I
told you to stay away.
And now they're both heated. Both of their emotions are high, and she kind of stepped in and became a little bit more of a closer shot on Powder as she's beginning to panic. But we're still on this close-up of Vi as she noticed. Oh, man.
No. What?
And this is good still for the 180-degree rule. They're staying consistent, even when they change shots to like a wider side shot or whatever. Powder's eye line, even in this shot, it's still looking to the same direction of the frame that she has been looking.
You leave me!
Because you're a jinx!
And this is kind of literally nose-to-nose face-off. This is really good
Do you hear me?
visual storytelling. And this is an amazing shot where you get that extreme close-up, a choker shot, just to see the emotion that's coming from Powder right now with all of the, the dirt and the blood from getting punched and everything. Even with this, notice the illumination on her skin is still brighter than her background, even though that's just the ground right behind her. It's basic things like this that really help make things look cinematic, as opposed to just like, everything being the same exposure. Creates depth. Oh, let me back up just a hair. I love this shot because it's kind of like what some people call a back key, almost. The main source of light, which is the fire, is actually hitting Vi right here on her shoulder and the side of her face. And it's really nice because you can see it clearly. It's the same color temperature as the fire, but then as you get to the other side of her face, on the shadow side, there's a nice color difference where you have cooler colors on this side, which is contrasting across the frame. It's an authority shot. Oh man, and you still have that nice color difference from one side of the frame to the other side. So you got shadow side here, and you got that back key on on our left side.
Violet, please!
Man. Both of them have extreme close-ups because they're both dealing with a lot of emotions right now. If they were giving wider shots of any kind, you wouldn't be as engaged in their emotional turmoil at this moment. And we're back to that wide shot, as you can literally see the line. Vi crossed the line. You showed her cross the line, so it kind of switches. They're still on the same side of the 180-degree rule, but now their perspectives has shifted. But you can literally see the line from Vander to Powder all the way down to Vi down here in the corner. And I love that shot. That's so beautiful. And this is cool too because you have this color difference that's happening on this side of the frame mixed with everything else that's on this side. This light's not only the main source of light for the scene, this fire, but it actually helps us understand where each character is in the scene and where this location is, how this location is laid out. You know, if you didn't have that, then with all of these shot changes, with them, you know, moving from one side to the other, with her walking into a new location that the scene hasn't been in yet, then it kind of can become confusing. But because there's this color difference of this light blue or this dark blue and this blazing fire, you know and have a sense of where everyone is in the scene. And this is beautiful too. This is just a very nice, you know, location shot or location animated shot of the building that blew up. It's very beautiful. Wow. It's a really powerful scene. It really is. The thing that grabbed me the most is first the emotion, first the visual storytelling of the scene without having to say much, and all these close-ups and these intense moments of emotion just grab you. On top of that, you have this beautiful design for this color difference, exposure difference. They chose, you know, this orangish, purplish look for the flames mixed with this dark blue green tones that you see in the background, the city that's behind this like main source of light. It's just really beautiful storytelling. It's really beautifully composed. The shot choices, the editing together was crafted so well. And I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did when you watched Arcane, and I hope that this was educational or fun to consume, to learn a little bit about the filmmaking eye side of things from analyzing this death scene of Vander from Arcane. If you enjoyed this video, we do all kinds of work, and by we, meaning my brother and my friend Wyatt, we do all kinds of commentary on films, on stories, things that we love, and if you'd be open to it, we come out with content like this a week early and sometimes exclusively content on our Patreon. And so if you're interested in supporting us on Patreon, check out the Patreon link in the description and give us a look-see. We'd really appreciate it if that's something you're into. If not, well, would you at least subscribe and like and tell us what you thought in the comments and give me, tell me what your favorite scene from Arcane was. Really appreciate you taking the time to watch. Love you, and I'll see you next time.